right, so I had to watch it for myself. Watch the Robert Iger interview. The dude, before I watched the interview, I was just like, I was kind of thinking he was a little bit reasonable, but he's probably insane. He's probably a crazy perfectionist, but me earning about 25 million a year. But Robert Iger, I really feel like a lot of the business would benefit if you did earn a bit less. I mean, you want to put less into your product, less into Marvel and Star Wars. That's the part I really don't understand. I mean, it's it's nearly matching the estimates, of course. Maybe you want to exceed them. Maybe you can't stand mediocrity. Maybe you don't want to be mid. Maybe you want to be, or you can't stand being average. You want to be, excellent. But if you're Robert Iger, you're probably taking away more in your paycheck than you probably be, earning for the entire company. So I mean, it's more than just greed at this point. I think it's more of an excuse to be stingy. Uh and with this strike, the writer's strike, actor strike at the same time, like in the timing behind it, the strategic timing behind it, knowing that Disney kind of owns, these news properties like MSNBC, CNN and stuff like that. I mean, you had such a conglomerate of stuff. You want to sort of shrink your universe. You want to take these worlds, such like a Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe, and sort of shrink it to fit the package. Now, another way you could do that, you can take what you filmed with Deadpool 3, you can take that footage and you can take the footage from, many other things with Daredevil and Echo, whatever you have, you can maybe form it into a feature, maybe an Avengers film, some kind of Avengers film. If you want, if you don't want to release all these movies, if you want to release one or two, they can be Avengers style films, big team up films with a whole myriad of characters. Then yeah, I mean, there's probably more leeway if you can do those big team up films like that. Maybe make them 3 hours, and maybe those are the high budget films instead of multiple high budget films worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So maybe you make two Avengers style films with several characters, but you just have great writing to wrap it all up. So it can work. And they have to be about 3 hours each, but they'd have to be spectacles. They'd have to really draw interest. And yeah, so Secret Wars, it's a good time to do Secret Wars. You can even wrap that up. So I mean, the plan with Marvel, you can do huge crossover events. You don't even need a single title character. It's more so you can make them Avengers movies. And if you look at the cast behind some of these movies coming out, like Thunderbolts, it's an Avengers 3.5 whatever, or 5.4 whatever. And Captain America 4 is pretty packed too, and I mean, and then the Deadpool 3 thing with Deadpool and Wolverine, and then all the X-Men and stuff like that, and the timeline and stuff like that. Those types of crossover events are pretty good for you. We're going into 2025 with Fantastic Four, and you probably want to do Blade, you probably want to do Shang-Chi 2, and you probably want to do King Dynasty and Secret Wars. So looking back at it, with Marvel, I'm saying it all goes back to Marvel because that's a world, comic book worlds are very diverse. You can tell many different stories. There's no one size fits all story. You can have a Secret Invasion, a She-Hulk here, then a WandaVision here, and then Miss Marvel. So there's a great property there. So Marvel can be its own world, its own little entity there. So I wouldn't limit Marvel as much because there's just too much source material. I don't think Robert Iger really understands the complexity of the source material. It's above money. It's more creativity, but he only looks at the dollar signs. But bigger than that, the dollar signs, not paying your writers, not paying your actors. I mean, there's a certain line you don't cross. So the resolve, I definitely feel like a lot of the people don't understand that these executives don't really care about the creative aspect of writing. They care about the economic aspect of your writing, of your acting, but basically your name value. So, if it doesn't make the money back, they're going to cut it. And a lot of big name actors have lost a lot of money just on their own name. So the brand of Disney is definitely a big conglomerate, but not just that. DC, which barely makes half of what even their highest grossing movies barely make half of what the lowest grade does, like Batman versus Superman. I mean, yeah, I mean, can barely clear a Guardians of the, basically a lower end Marvel movie. Like I guess, if you compare it, like Superman and Batman movies, of course, are um very box office. But after Superman and Batman, like if it's a different title character, you know what I'm saying? Even if it's Justice League, like if it's just standing alone as Superman and Batman, it's gonna make a lot of money because Justice League probably wasn't branded like that for most people, but everybody knows Batman and Superman. So Warner Brothers is also kind of struggling a bit, and you know it's about the creativity at the end of the day. I mean, if you're an executive, I understand you care a lot about money and stuff like that, but it's bigger than money. It's about creativity. So even if people are going on strike, even if you're compensated, like it's about respect. Like respect is also it's used with your creativity as well and your creation, your artistic nature. The disrespect, them sort of wanting you to be homeless, basically holding it out till you become homeless. Like I wouldn't work for these types of people personally, even if I did get those benefits, because I mean the level of things you have to give up, it's basically that is really selling your soul. So in a way, things the way they are now does give a lot more leeway and freedom. Maybe one of those jobs can't pay your way, but if you do about 3 or 4 or 5 of those jobs, then yeah, maybe you could pay off your way. Having the timing to do that, the space to do that, you might need a little bit more flexibility. Instead of being so codependent on the studios or even people, donating like a charity, and this is more to the people who are striking, like the writers and stuff like that. Being more involved in, your own hustle, your own side hustles, things you do on the side. If you need to do Instacart, if you need to do independent film, if you need to start this and that, because you're in a guild, it's very hard to do independent film. You probably aren't even allowed to do that, but you can write on Amazon, sell books on Amazon. A lot of people do that, but to reiterate the point is just to say you have a lot of options. A lot of people have a lot of options, and I think more people need to support independent film because again, the studios are run by greed, and it's more so that's sort of how the machine functions, how the machine runs. People making less and less to make more and more. It's sort of like they depend heavily on consumers, but it's also their marketing, their tools, their brand name. So a lot of things are connected one to one with that. So really they can hold out and save their money more so than send money out in the market just to make money back for other people. So investments, investors, markets, things of that nature, a lot of things going into it that are higher level economic strategies deployed against the masses. So it was a great reset they planned on you. A lot of other people striking, maybe FedEx was striking, maybe, so acting, writing, all these guilds, all this stuff like that was a great reset. All this stuff was really planned. It was all sort of set up. They already kind of knew about it. Robert Iger was already kind of planning to cut back. What is it? Bob Paycheck, whatever. I mean, the people even over DC or whatever, you know, those guys are super incompetent. Not just DC, but like Warner Brothers in general, Time Warner. I mean, they have a lot of great content. They have a lot of great IP. I mean, incredible IP that, if they were as smart as the people at Disney, again, they would do a whole lot more. So, in Bob Iger's case, he's more of a perfectionist, but he doesn't understand the ways he might be bringing down his own resources by doing the selfish deeds that he's done. But he's very efficient in that. He's probably the most competent of those people striking. Then I probably do. I mean, people are striking against what I'm trying to say. Disney, Netflix, and then I put Warner Brothers back there. So I mean, the big six. You got Paramount. You got all those other people. I mean, but no one really just talks about them. So at the top with the Disney thing, I mean, we're looking at that as the head of the snake because they control maybe a third of the world's media when you look at it, including news. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, and it's something that needs to be taken with a lot of responsibility for the people, because there's a lot of staff, a lot of other people below the line, a lot of non-union people, a lot of background, a lot of set designers, a lot of makeup, a lot of hair, A lot of the other people on the set, a lot of the PAs, production assistants, was what I mean. So, a lot of the people, casting directors. I mean, I've spoken with so many people in the industry, so many people I work with as a background actor myself, and doing other things in the industry as myself, but not like as in a guild, because I do writing and acting independently of that system. I definitely think you wouldn't really want to be hired by that system anymore. Even with those benefits, I think you need to go against it. Uh, if you're an actor or writer, whatever, you need to compete against it. You need to start doing your own independent stuff. Forget the guild madness. Just do what you need to do today. Do what you need to do. Earn the day, because at the end of the day, it's all plan mindset. They want you codependent on their paycheck. So don't sell out for a paycheck. Basically, it's bigger than money now. It's about respect. So, but again, looking back at the people who want to do the work for free or for cheaper, should also go into the Hollywood system. I mean, they're basically doing a cost cutting procedures. Basically, you have to cut this much production of all this stuff. A lot of unemployment, of course, but maybe you do accept the less pay for a while, even less pay than you were before the strike, because at the end of the day, if you really care about your art, you get it out there regardless. If you really care about it, the industry was made to break some people, and it was made to weed them out, and this was the reason it was made to do it. So not everyone, and even if you get all the benefits, like, it's impossible for everyone to get higher wages and more people to work in that environment. Sometimes less people will be able to work in the environment, more qualified people. They get paid more wages, but the people that were there before are completely wiped out. So it's one of those things, even though they made the sacrifice, it's more of a thing where maybe you can be patient. You can hold off on things, because if things were planned against you, if certain people were playing chess or you were playing checkers, just hold off until you know how to play a different game, because these executives knew how to play chess. They knew how to think ahead of a lot of people that were striking, because they planned for that to happen. They were already going to cut most of these productions anyway. So only the consumers like myself wanted to see Secret Wars. We want to see all that stuff, King Dynasty, whatever. But there's a lot involved in that, a lot of setups along the way that if you really paid attention to, had been planned the whole time. So you might think it's about the money, millions of dollars, but economically speaking, inflation and things like that, we need to put more stamps on the government for the economic things, and in terms of the income things, we need to put more responsibility on ourselves. Maybe we do get more jobs instead of just one gig. Maybe you can get multiple streams of income instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, because you're going to end up being codependent to the enemy. So executives that are wanting you to be homeless, they are the enemy, the adversary. Even if they want to give into your demands eventually, they already know you're codependent on them. They have no respect for you. So you go out there and you earn the day, and you become an independent filmmaker. If you're a writer, if you're lower level, if you're an actor, if you want to get into something, you start something. You start something from the ground up, and you build from there. Because this was an emergency, man. This whole thing, and people are going into business for themselves. These executives, they can just hoard the money and no consequence, even if they lose, even if they shut down every streaming service. Netflix just shut down all this stuff. We benefited because we enjoy the art, and they've used us. But it was bigger than, you know about them even making money at this point. They already have the money now, so keeping it, they don't have to they don't have to put it out there. They can choose not to put the money out there, basically. But governments need to incentivize that. When you say taxing the rich, it's more reason why they're not taxed is because they do open businesses like this, LLCs, what have you. I mean, and they're very successful. So it's about successful business. So the rich are good for one thing, creating jobs, and if they cause the disruption of jobs, I mean, there should be a consequence for that, not just for the employees who just don't work. The rich are have a huge responsibility to their economy to make sure jobs are created. So there's a whole lot of things involved, but it all starts with government. Government should cancel all student loans. When you really think about it, they have the power to do that. But this unconstitutional debate is because people aren't quote unquote Christian; they are more Freemason than Christian. I mean, in their rights. And I'm not trying to say this, but the ability for no one to be charitable in government is definitely an economic mammoth. It is there are definitely principalities in their system of government. But bigger than that, it is definitely built off of slavery. Make no mistake. So all you see is all connected. But selfishness from the studio, selfishness from the government, right side, because I'm saying right wing. But there's Democrats in executive studios, whatever. So it's all creative control and political stuff. It's all that other stuff. It's monopolized. You know what I'm saying? It's a board game with your soul, basically. So money isn't really the concern. Just don't sell out. So even though you're striking, like a lot of these people, I wouldn't strike, because either you do work for them or you don't work for them. That's the simple matter. The fact that even if you do get these benefits, even if artificial intelligence doesn't replace your job, like, why would you even want the job? Let artificial intelligence replace you, because it's already soulless. It's already soulless. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider, and I'm just saying, for a lot of you, just don't go back. This is your chance to get out. Just get out, because I mean, they don't like you. They don't like you. They don't welcome you if it's a toxic relationship. They don't like you. Just get out. But know this: as valuable as you are, you can create your own value on your own little island, and then just build up from there. Build up from there as you go, creatively, because that system is not for creatives. It's for financiers. And those people who are financing, and again, don't have to be in the creative space to do creative work. They can do a whole bunch of industrial other stuff that involves soulless beings, artificial intelligence, robots, whatever they need to, machines, whatever they need to produce their dollar bills. So that's just what I want you to know. Your art has a soul. All right? Peace.